Hello, people. This is Texas Grassroots Alliance live stream. Neil and Alex are here, and we are going to interview top grassroots organizers from around the state about the primary election just completed, at least the first round, on March 5th. And this program is available on multiple channels and streams. We'd love to hear your comment in the chats and have you as a participant. It's going to be a good lively show.
Yeah, very, very excited. We had a great show election night, Neil, where we heard from Daniel and Rebecca out of Harris County. We heard from Nick out of Collin County. You and I both got to share our perspectives also from Tarrant County and Harris County. And then we had Sabrina from Bowie County give some perspectives. And so it's great to hear from grassroots organizers talking about the different impacts and the different, circumstances when it comes to early voting, election day enthusiasm, and the results that they were seeing. So excited to bring another round of grassroots organizers talking about that perspective from their various communities and where they're organizing within. Before we bring on our first guest, though, we want to share a key giveaway that the Texas Grassroots Alliance is doing today. And it's just for today. We are giving away 10 free passes to Unified Jam. And so Unified Jam is happening in Austin. It's with the Unified app that the co-founder Cheyenne has also been a part of the Texas Grassroots Alliance and has been connected with grassroots organizers since we've been working to build these relationships and connections with each other. And so right now, if you go to Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter, and you share this in your story, or you repost this and you tag Unified and you tag the Texas Grassroots Alliance, you will get put into a drawing for a free ticket for the event tomorrow. It'll be an all-day event where there'll be various panel discussions, there'll be various networking opportunities, and it'll just be a great opportunity to connect with grassroots organizers and for us as the Texas Grassroots Alliance members to really continue to elevate the need for resources for grassroots organizers because of the important work that grassroots organizers are doing across this state. And so excited to share there's going to be a panel with Trish Contreras, who is the president of Indivisible Austin and a very active member of the Texas Grassroots Alliance. Nancy Thompson with Mothers Against Greg Abbott, also a member of the Texas Grassroots Alliance, will be there, and many, many more. So make sure that you you share this on your story for a chance to get a free ticket. We'd love to have you at the event and to be able to see folks in Austin who are able to make it.
This show has prizes. We have prizes for our viewers.
Yeah, we're coming along, huh? We've been experimenting with folks for a couple of weeks, different formats, different kind of conversations, and now we're inserting prizes. Who knows what's going to come down the road?
Just big time.
All right. Well, we're excited to bring on the first organizer we have from the Texas Grassroots Alliance Network. Cheryl Foster is out of Waco and McLennan County doing amazing work. Has been doing amazing work for years in Waco. And we're excited to get Cheryl's perspective on this primary election. Key thing, Cheryl, that we're going to be talking about is, early voting turnout to election day turnout, the enthusiasm you saw and what some of the results that came out of Waco, McLennan County that were important for local folks that they were paying attention to, and also what the impact of those results are going to be. So welcome, Cheryl. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you all doing?
Good to have you.
I'm tired. It was a long day. I got out of Central County about 11:30 at night. It probably went for another 45 minutes before the election was over. Early Monday morning or Wednesday morning. I don't even know what day this is. So
we believe it to be Thursday.
We believe it to be, yeah. So our turnout in McLennan County, we'll just start there, generally runs somewhere around 7%. It rarely goes higher than that for a primary election. The only time I've seen it go higher than that was back in 2018 when we had a contested DA race. This turnout, and this is election day plus early voting, was 23%.
Oh.
And that was because we had a very highfalutin sheriff's race, and it got everybody all in a twist. Of course, it was only on the Republican side. So Democrats flew over there in massive amounts of numbers. 28,000 GOP votes out of the 35,000 total. To vote in that sheriff's race. And it was crazy. Enthusiasm. I can tell you that the cops got called on the campaigns and candidates at one of our voting sites because they were so excited to talk to people that they were blocking the parking lot and people getting in and out. So they were very enthused over there. The other number that I don't have this number, but I saw it, was we had way more spoiled ballots than we normally have in an election, because that was people got a Democratic ballot, realized the sheriff's race wasn't on it, so they spoiled the ballot to get a Republican ballot so that they could vote in a county election. The guy that's going to show up at their front door, they want to know who he is. So we had an awful lot of spoiled ballots. I don't know what that number is, but everybody was commenting about how many spoiled ballots there were.
Hey, election judge, I spilled coffee on my ballot.
No, they were pretty clear. I want to vote in the sheriff's race. It ain't on this page. So,
you had been telling us on our calls that the sheriff's race featured a conservative and a super conservative. Is that right?
No, that was the House district race, and the conservative one, the MAGA crazy woman, did not. But it was too close for comfort. The sheriff's race is a guy whose family name has been in the sheriff's and law enforcement here for 130 years. There's been a McNamara in either the sheriff's race or the DA, some law enforcement position here in McLennan County.
Sure.
And he was going up against a Hispanic law enforcement agent who had a great resume. The McNamaras won by just over 2,000 votes.
Oh, okay.
So we're very disappointed about that because we wanted Parnell out, and he's still in. Okay. So the McNamara name lives again in McLennan County.
Okay, were they hanging judges 100 years ago or something? Is there a town tree? You know that
there actually is, but it's lynching.
Yeah. It's impossible to parody.
That's another story. So anyway, Parnell won that race by about just a little over 2,000 votes. The interesting thing, I think, in the numbers that I saw is the mail-in ballots when they were coming in, and I opened the mail-in ballots in our elections office. I'm part of the ballot board. The Democrats to Republicans was about equal. I mean, it's usually not 50-50. It was more like 60-40 Republican ballots to Democratic ballots, because those people don't get to do a spoiled ballot. They pick what ballot they want back in January. So the race didn't heat up and get crazy until late January, February. So those people had already picked their ballots. They can't swap ballots. So the numbers in the mail-in ballots were fairly equal or normal, whereas the regular, show up in person ballots were way off kilter. So there was lots of enthusiasm on the Republican side. Lots of people jumping over to the Republican ballot who wouldn't normally do that, to make sure that they had a say in our local county positions. There are no Democrats running for local county positions. We just don't have them. Now in November, we'll have somebody running for House district. Well, and that's about it. And for U.S. Congress, but that's not a local McLennan County thing. So we shall see what happens. The one thing that scares me is, Prop 9 on the Republican ballot did pass, and that requires closed primaries. So Democrats would not be able to have a voice in our sheriff's election. or our county comptroller or the DA or any of those other positions where there's where we don't have a competitor in the race. That passed by 71% on the Republicans' side. So I am planning to do a resolution to go up to the state primary or the state convention to change the election code so that county positions in counties of 1 million or less are nonpartisan, so that we all have a say in our local elections. Because right now we don't. I was not allowed to vote in the Republican primary because I'm a precinct chair, and that pissed me off because I don't get a say in who's the sheriff in my town, and it's pretty damn important here in Waco who the sheriff is. It's real important who the DA is. It's real, even the county clerk has gone extreme on us. So I need to have a voice to get rid of him. And right now I don't have a voice. Yeah. So that's my next step in elections in McLean County.
Yeah, I think that's so key, Cheryl, that I think for a lot of folks in the larger cities and the urban cities that maybe they're not preview, to, and they don't kind of experience this. But when you have such a deficiency in terms of opposition in candidates, then the primary is ultimately the big election.
Yeah.
The primary is to try to shift things to less, especially from our perspective, the values we have, to have less extremism in these offices. And so there's this aspect of needing to be able to navigate those spaces, because you may not have a community member who has stepped up to run in that race in the opposition party, in the Democratic Party. But I think this also comes to the core of what the Texas Grassroots Alliance talks about, is that if we don't build organizing infrastructure in our communities, and if we don't help sustain grassroots organizers, then we aren't contributing to the essential component and pieces that help us build a pipeline of leaders, of communities that are connected, that are working together to try to build power, so that there is this, alternative for people within the community, when it doesn't exist. And while there's the party apparatus that is designed to help do some of that, we know that within communities, it doesn't always start in the party. It starts within the actual community that people are residing in. And it's about having those tough conversations. It's about building those relationships, building those alliances, so that eventually it could translate to an opposition candidate in a space like McLennan County, where there's only Republicans who are running for certain races. What is your perspective, hearing from folks in the community about the work they see ahead in McLennan County to start organizing to build this infrastructure?
Well, we've had a change in our party chair a couple of years ago, which made a huge difference. And we are much more organized. There are so many more people on the Democratic side to help now. We've got people showing up to meetings. I was actually at a meeting this morning to organize the county convention. I didn't even know we had a county convention until the new guy came up. I mean, so I see organization where I've never seen it before, which is great. Takes the pressure off of some of us who've been in this race since 2013. So there's just a whole lot of growth. I think it is hard to break the shell of indifference out there in the community. They just don't care. They are disenfranchised, don't trust anyone, and are not informed enough to get involved, and don't want to be. So it's keep in mind that McLennan County has 175,000 registered voters, 154,000 registered voters. Mm-hmm. So that's not a lot. That's not a big pool to draw from when you're asking people to give up everything to run for a position.
Right. Well, we're going to keep talking about this need for this infrastructure, organizing infrastructure for Texas communities. Cheryl, thanks so much for all the amazing work you're doing in Waco, McLennan County. We're going to bring on another guest, but we're going to bring Cheryl back towards the end of this conversation. So hang on, because Cheryl always has these words of wisdom to share with all of us. Thanks so much, Cheryl.
Uh-huh.
And as we transfer to the next guest, this is Texas Grassroots Alliance live stream. These are shows we do once, twice, 3 times a week, different times of the day, different formats. And we encourage you to keep tuned, keep aware, share a word, and leave a comment in the chat. And we want love you to be engaged. Thanks.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity for folks to be able to support Texas Grassroots organizing. And so if you would like to make a donation to the Texas Grassroots Alliance, this helps us get resources to collaborations like these live streams, but also key collaborations around work that's being done to be able to help build organizing infrastructure in our communities. And so you can scan that QR code and donate and support the Texas Grassroots Alliance. All right, we have 2 guests we're going to bring on kind of back to back here. The first one I'm going to bring on is Michelle with Lone Star Left, who, if you are paying attention to Texas progressive politics and organizing, Michelle's Lone Star Left Substack is the space to subscribe to. Michelle, how are you doing today?
Apparently I'm very pasty, but it's the lighting in here. Sorry. I'm great. It's raining outside. I'm actually drenched. But I got here as quick as I can because I didn't want to miss the opportunity to talk to you guys. We've got a lot of stuff going on, especially as it pertains to the legislator and the elections. I'm sure you guys know. I'm sorry I missed the first part of the conversation, but I really would love to talk about it.
All right. Well, Michelle, you're going to be kind of our third co-host for our next conversations. So we're going to bring on another organizer. And then after our next 2 organizers talk about their communities, we're going to have a group conversation with all of us. Okay. Next up, we're going to bring Jazz, who comes from us out of Houston, but in Fort Bend County. Jazz does amazing grassroots organizing work in a number of roles. Jazz, welcome. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to our audience, a little bit about the work you do in Fort Bend County.
Yeah, my name is Muhammad Usman Jazz, but my friends call me Jazz. I'm a precinct chair here in Fort Bend County. I volunteer with the nonprofit Texans Against Gerrymandering, and I'm also on the Texas State Democratic Executive Committee. So think of us as the board of directors for the Texas Democratic Party. And today I will be wearing my Texas Democratic Party and my precinct chair hat as TAG is a nonprofit organization. We may get into some partisan stuff here, so I don't want to get in trouble.
And Jazz, just for folks, are you, just so folks watching, you're a portion of Houston, a small portion of Houston is in Fort Bend County. Is that where you live, in that portion?
I do not, but there are 11 precincts that are in Houston, and one of them is like 2 minutes that way.
Yeah.
So I'm very close to Houston.
Mm-hmm. Great.
All right. Well, Fort Bend County is also, sometimes overlooked because its proximity to Houston and Harris County. But Fort Bend County is huge in terms of the impact it has on its state as it continues to grow. In not only in its population, but also in its influence. So, Jazz, from your perspective, when you're seeing the early voting number totals, election day totals, overall enthusiasm, what is the perspective that you kind of saw within Fort Bend County?
Well, enthusiasm this cycle was definitely higher than it was in 2022. However, it is nothing compared to what it was in 2020. In fact, let me share my screen real quick, and I can show you what I mean. So this was our turnout this year, which is about 18% of the registered voters. And then, it doesn't have my social. Yeah. In 2020, we had Same one. Yeah, you know what? Let me just talk about it. Yeah, in 2020, we had a turnout of almost double. And so seeing half of our people show up in the primary, I feel like a lot of people aren't as enthusiastic about as voting this year, and that could spell trouble later on.
So, in terms of some of the results and the races that y'all had in Fort Bend County, were there any key local races that folks are really paying attention to see what the results would be? And any, you know, what would be the impact of some of those races?
So I think the most interesting race would have had to be the county commissioner for Precinct 3. We had 5 candidates, and one candidate actually ended up winning outright, and there's no runoff. There are a couple of surprises because, like, we did not expect that. But then also all the incumbents pretty much won without a runoff, except for a handful. One incumbent lost, and then what I found most interesting was that when you look at the top of the ticket for those who voted for president, we had 39,000, 40,000 votes, no, 39,000 votes. And then all the way at the end of the ballot, where we have our party chair for the Democratic Party, we had 37,000 people vote in that race as well. So the down ballot drop off didn't really happen as we've seen in previous years. So I think even though our turnout was lower, we're getting the good, consistent voters that do vote all the way down ballot to come out more consistently. So it's a good and a bad thing. I'll take more voters over consistent voters any day.
Yeah, I think that's a huge adjustment that a lot of folks are having to make because it, you know, we used to have, you know, you could just hit, you know, the party, you know, just kind of go down ballot and everyone kind of got used to that in various elections to be able to just vote for the party and it votes for everyone. But now folks need to choose, right? They need to actually choose every person that they want to vote for. And so that's great to see that these, you know, down ballot races are getting chosen as well. Michelle, any questions you have for Fort Bend County?
I do, because you guys, well, the Republicans just axed JC Jetton. Oh, poor JC, nobody cares. But we do have a Democrat running for that seat. His name is Daniel Lee. I don't know anything about him. How is he as a candidate? How is that campaign going? I would love to hear all about it.
Yeah, so Daniel is a lawyer. He's a family law lawyer here. He actually mainly practices in Houston, Harris County, really cool guy. He and I are like friends, so we talk about, like, you know, baseball cards, Pokemon cards, and, you know, those kinds of things. But he is a solid person to be a candidate because he also ran for the 505th District Court in 2020. So he has campaign experience. He is known in the community. And I believe he's ready to work this seat. If he doesn't win this cycle, we're going to try our best because it's going to be close. But he will also continue to work in 2026 and if not 2028. So he is a long-term play for that seat, and he's ready to take on the work needed to win in that race.
How does it look, you know, like in terms of flipping it? Do you think he's got a good chance?
Well, after seeing the turnout this year, probably not. But we're going to try and change that by November. Really, just the voter apathy that I'm seeing, it's going to affect a lot of people. But that specific race, Jason Toussaint was like the former Republican Party cheerleader, right? And so he drew that district for himself, knowing it's going to protect him and Republicans. So there is some headwind there with the way it's gerrymandered. However, there are enough Democratic voters if we can get the turnout to about 80%. Unlikely, but if the work can be done, that seat can be flipped this year.
Okay. And that's what, you know, that's what I kind of thought. And I don't think that anybody knows the answer to this because this is not really something that's ever happened. You know, the GOP is so split down the middle, you know, between Trumpism and never Trumpers. And, you know, we saw it in like a ton of races, and especially in JC Jetton's case, where I don't think that he embraced never Trumpism, but he was not embracing the whole, Trumpism ideology. And the guy that is being that beat him, what's his name? Matt Morgan. He's pretty far right, isn't he?
He is.
So, with like what we're seeing, with the split down the middle with the Republicans, I'm curious whether, we're going to see a lower Republican turnout in November because of it. We don't know. Nobody knows this. It's just speculation. But how do you feel about the Republicans in Fort Bend County? Do you think that they're fractured as well?
You can say that about Republicans all over the state of Texas.
Yeah.
I mean, they went after Fallon, and I don't know why they would do strategy like that, because either he would win, come back with a vengeance, or he would lose, and everybody else would vote for somebody against whoever the Republican nominee would be for this Speaker of the House, because they got another guy. So it was just a bad strategy on their part. They are fractured. I don't know what's going to happen. When it comes to turnout, however, their turnout remained consistent, unfortunately. And so I don't know if that's going to dampen their turnout. I don't think it's going to happen. I think, at least in Fort Bend, turnout will either stay the same from 2020 or increase, which can be a problem for us. But also in 2020... Oh, wait, that would be a problem because our turnout is lower. Yeah, because in 2020, we swept all the county seats. But if our turnout is low this year and their turnout is the same or if not higher, then, yeah, we might be in trouble.
Food for thought.
Yeah. A lot of work ahead. I don't like to, sugarcoat it, right? Like, I want to give the truth behind it. Like, yeah, it sucks right now. But we need to be able to see this, because if we don't, we can't plan properly and we can't adjust our strategies properly. So yeah, the numbers do not look good right now. However, I know our precinct chairs are solid, and once we get through the runoff later in May, we're all going to come together and get to work and get it done. We've done it before. We've done it for the past 3 cycles. We'll do it again.
Okay.
So the big thing we talk about here in the Texas Grassroots Alliance is, once again, those resources going to grassroots organizers that are working within communities. And when we talk about communities, it's where people are residing, where people are living, and really connecting with people. For a lot of candidates and even elected officials, when they think of community, sometimes they think of more the affluent spaces of community. They're thinking of the Chamber of Commerce or certain influential groups and things like that. But for organizers, they're really trying to connect to the people. And so, Jazz, when you're looking at Fort Bend County, one thing we see is, a lot of money and resources go to candidates. We understand that they do need resources to be able to run their campaigns, but the inequity between what is being given to a campaign versus what is being provided to grassroots organizers to be able to do this work and to be able to make an impact. Do you see in Fort Bend County there is a conversation around trying to get more resources to community organizers, to grassroots organizers, or do you feel like people are still kind of, deep in that perspective of let's give it all to the campaigns?
Yeah, so that's interesting because I've seen both happen. Particularly when I look at the Precinct 3 commissioner race, right? We had 5 candidates. 4 of them are not independently wealthy, and 1 of them is. The one who is independently wealthy, they threw money left and right to make sure he got elected. However, he only got 25% of the vote, and that one candidate that got 50% of the vote was more connected with the grassroots organizers in the community. And he had more individual donors than anybody else. So I see that there are people who will strictly give, to the people they want because they have the influence of the money and they want certain policies passed, right? But I also see that within our community, we're strong enough to safeguard against that. Because if that candidate that, Darrell Patel, who didn't win, if he didn't win precinct and commissioner, right, then yeah, the big money interest would have won. But because our guy won, the grassroots champion, right, I believe that here specifically we have enough of a safeguard against that.
Awesome. That's good to hear that progress is being made to help support grassroots organizers and just the important role. And I want to highlight Lydia Zuna in the chat on Facebook shares it's all about grassroots organizers and the relationship that we build. And so we definitely agree with Lydia. This is a key aspect of our work and what we need to continue to build in Texas to see the change especially in the values and the policy and our representation in our state. So Jazz, thanks so much for joining us. We're going to transition to Donna from Dallas County, but hang on because we're going to bring you back at the end. So everyone hold on because we're going to bring both Cheryl and Jazz back for a big roundtable discussion.
And as our audience grows, this is Texas Grassroots Alliance live stream, and Alex and Michelle and I are co-hosting. This is a series of shows that's going to be ongoing through the election and past, different days, different times, formats, different hosts, different guests, but with the core mission of an autonomous voice for progressive and pro-democracy organizers in Texas. This is the 4th week of shows. We encourage you to share word of it, to support the Texas Grassroots Alliance, to support things like Michelle's Lone Star Left Substack, the Houston Democracy Project, which is an effort that I'm running or participating in the John Cornyn Houston office protest, which is something that I'm a co-organizer of each week in Houston. So, and you, the grassroots leader participant, we'd love to have you as a guest or even a potential host. This is a program for all of us, and we are spending time with it. It's here for the long haul, and it's going to serve all of us statewide, big and small counties, rural, suburban, urban.
Absolutely. All right, we're going to bring on Donna in Dallas County. Let's see. Donna,
in Dallas.
We've got you on.
Come on twice. Good morning. I'm sorry. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Donna. I'm coming in as a precinct chair. I can't give statistics or anything like that. I'm just learning this, but I was a precinct judge, and that turnout was low. We had 36 people that came in to vote.
So
But
you served as the poll judge at your poll?
Yes, I was a poll judge. And only 36 people came in. Now, I don't know why, but there was also a place across the street
Oh, okay.
where they were having, but I think they may have did about 150. That's it.
Oh, okay.
I don't know why it's like that.
It's probably Republicans. They probably don't have joint primaries.
We had joint primaries.
Okay.
We did. We had about out of the 36. We had three Republicans that came in and voted.
I love Dallas.
Yes, in Dallas, in that particular district, which was small. It really was a small district, but still only 100 and maybe 50 people voted. That's something that we got to work on. But as a precinct chair, organization that I do work with, what we're going to do, we're going to get with the precinct chairs that's in Dallas County and try to lift these turnouts up. We want to go to the people. We're going to talk to the precinct chairs first. And I'm a precinct chair for 3605, which is DeSoto. Work with the city council there and everybody to see why is our turnout so low. So that's what we're focused on right now. We're gonna, I think, March the 30th. And if you know any precinct chairs in Dallas County, Alex or whoever's in Dallas, let us know, and we would love to invite them to this. It's called Meet and Greet Precinct Chairs. As far as the runoff, I was kind of shocked at District 100 because not because didn't do much, but I thought maybe the Caraway name would carry her, and it didn't.
But
Maybe they still remember her husband.
she's ran for office like 4 or 5
Yes,
times
before.
now, has it?
And so this is a state representative seat, right?
Mhm.
Yes. It was Jasmine's first, and then Jasmine, then Benton. Once Jasmine went to
Jasmine
take
Crockett.
Eddie Bernice Johnson's.
Yeah.
Yes, Jasmine Crockett. So Benton, he was a freshman, so he's going for, this was his second one.
Mhm.
But Benton has done some work, but we still need to hold him accountable for some of the things that he hasn't done. You know, we have to talk about women rights, you know, the reproductive justice. As a person, we invited Benton to several things that we had, and he has not shown up.
Sure.
So we have to start holding these elected officials more accountable.
Right. That sure is a central theme of the Texas Grassroots Alliance, and that is a central theme of my Houston Democracy Project, holding electeds accountable and accountable for turnout.
Yes.
Holding electeds, even if you're in a safe seat or unopposed, you've got to be generating turnout now through November.
You got to be. And the sheriff race, that it is a runoff between Marion Brown and Lupe Valdez.
Mhm.
I knew that one was going to be close.
And folks will remember Lupe was our gubernatorial nominee in
2018.
Yeah.
2018.
No.
Yep.
Was it 2018?
Yep.
I thought it was. Has it been that?
2018. Yeah.
Wow.
That tells us 2018.
Yeah.
Right.
So, you know, my thing
We've
is,
all been doing this too long, Donna. They're all running together.
Yeah. They run together.
yes.
Yeah, they sure.
So I know we're going to need some help. So with all of us in Texas that's doing this, I'm sure that we can turn this state blue, since I'm representing myself. We can turn it blue. And with everybody's help that's live on here, Facebook, Instagram, whoever it is, just like Alex said, reach out to him and we all can work together. We want to know why your turnout is so low. What it is that we as community advocates, what it is that we need to hold elected officials accountable for, whatever it is that we can get to, like I say, bring the turnout up. We here. That's all I have.
A friend in Dallas that messaged me yesterday, it must have been yesterday, who told me that they didn't even know Lupe Valdez was running until they saw her on the ballot.
Oh, wow.
So I think that they're, you know, I mean, there's probably different aspects of this, you know, that the candidates maybe are not doing enough to get their name out there. Maybe, you know, it is apathy. And who knows?
Look, and she's right, because the friend is right, because I didn't see a lot of how do you say, promotion from Lupe. I saw her. I knew she was running because that's my job to find out who's running and everything. But I also met her when I went to go vote. See if there's a runoff. Which I knew it was going to be. Would you be willing to come and talk with us? And she said yes. Now I just got to get Sheriff Brown to agree to talk to us also.
Yeah, so I think, Donna, one thing that Dallas County has that could be interesting come the November election is, I know there's a lot of organizations, a lot of grassroots organizers working together with Ground Game Texas on the marijuana ballot initiative.
Yes.
Do you see that something like that is going to help maybe increase some enthusiasm and also just collaboration, because Dallas is huge, right? It's our second largest county. And on Tuesday, when we talked to Houston organizers, Daniel Cohen and Rebecca Shukla, they talked about the key collaborations and the key relationships that were being built to help them have the results they wanted. Do you see their Dallas County organizers and organizations, especially on the grassroots level, are having a desire to want to build that strength and that relationship and that network?
And yes, I do. I think that if we could, a lot of people don't know about the petition that's going around. This is just for the city of Dallas only. Only if
For
people
Eric
knew
Johnson.
about that, it's to I think legalize marijuana, or
Oh,
you can't go to jail for less than so. But I'm sure everybody that is eligible to vote, if they knew that, we would have had a great turnout. But there's no promotion on that either. So if somehow we could get this on the ballot for November, it will help. So if you're in Dallas County, I'm sorry, if you're in the city of Dallas and you would like to sign the petition, reach out to Alex and he can tell you where to go.
I love how all this work is getting allocated to me.
That's right. That's right.
You pass it on to us. You pass it on, and we can get that word out. Like I say, Facebook, Instagram. Oh, tell your friends if they're over 18 and can vote. Remember, you have to be a voter in order to sign this petition.
Well, Donna, thanks for the amazing work you're doing. We're going to bring on everyone else that we've talked to so far with Jazz and Cheryl. And Michelle, would you like to lead us in a question to talk about, this election cycle with Texas? What is something on your mind you want to really know, and some of the things you hear from readers in Lone Star Left talk about?
that I really want to know. There's something that I really would like to state that I think everybody should know. The Republican Party this year has taken this election, this primary cycle, has taken a hard right turn. And if we do not get Texas voters motivated, educated, aware, and excited to vote, we are going to be fucked when it comes to next legislative session. We're talking about bans on IVF, bans on IUDs, restriction on women traveling, show me your paper bills, whatever the creative oppressive moment is for the GOP, they are going to think of it. Brian Harrison is already talking about banning LGBTQ studies, women's studies, ethnic studies from Texas colleges. It is going to be bad. If we do not do something to flip seats this November, it's going to be really bad in January. And I think that, we just have
Going to the house.
to understand
We
it.
go to Kroger's on the way.
So I don't know. Maybe my questions for you guys on the ground is, what do we do? Like, what do we do to get voters more aware, more enthusiastic, and realize that their vote matters?
So Michelle, I'm not aware of a seat in Harris County. I could be wrong. That's flippable. Either way,
In Harris County,
I'm not aware of. I've heard sometimes that the seat held by Lacey Hull
yeah, that's what I was
actually the
thinking.
most vulnerable, but I don't know that there's a Democratic or Republican seat that could be flipped here, one way or another.
Well, I think there's 2 House districts that are being looked at, whether it can be flipped this election cycle or the next one. I think it's a target within this decade. And that's HD 138 and HD 132 within Harris County that has potential, if we build the infrastructure, we build the organizing, that the demographics, the votes, the communities are there, that folks think we can flip that one. But the progress we need to make, this is a huge presidential election. There's a lot of progress that can be made towards moving that needle so that we can have it down, in another election, if not by this election. I mean, the election years are very interesting things, right? And enthusiasm can be sparked. But I think those are 2 districts within Harris County that are of interest to folks.
I can tell you a few more districts actually that statewide could work. We did this analysis of the state party quite a bit back. And so we know the districts we need to protect, the districts we need to flip, and the districts we need to increase turnout in to help our statewide candidates. The districts that can flip, State House 37, that's Janie Lopez, State House 52, Carolyn Harris, State House 108, Morgan Meyer, 112, Angie Chen Button, 118, 121, Steve Allison, and 133, Mano de Ala. Interestingly, we didn't have Lacey Hall in our analysis, simply because I think she's too strong right now.
Michelle, just as
And
an
I
FYI,
agree with that analysis. Yeah.
you were talking about inspiration and motivation. I share Yellow Pain's video, My Vote Don't Count, with everybody who comes up to me and says they don't care.
I like that one.
Yeah.
It was
Does it make a difference?
Yes.
I have seen it make a difference. I have seen people watch that video, and the next day I ask them about it, and they say, "Oh yeah, got it. I'll be voting."
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. Like, and I don't know why Texas culture is like this, and I don't know if it's maybe, you know, the younger folks. I really couldn't tell you, you know, why people feel like their vote doesn't matter. You know, like we saw in the 2022 election, 9.5 million people don't vote. But like when we're talking about, you know, in Houston, 132 or 138, if, you know, Democrats had like 100%, which is ridiculous, but even if they had like a 75% turnout, either one of those seats could flip this year, especially because of the, you know, shenanigans going on with the Republicans. I mean, you know, there's a really good chance that Donald Trump is going to be in jail come November. And if he does, what's going to happen? I mean, like, half of the Republicans are not going to show up. Well, Donald Trump's not on the ballot. They vowed to never vote again. Well, what does that do for Democrats? So Republicans aren't voting because Donald Trump is in jail, and Democrats are not voting because we don't think our vote counts. And we probably could flip a lot of seats, you know, because we have the numbers, we have the demographics. It's just, it's the turnout.
It's not all about
apathy.
Donald Trump.
I think you're right. It's not all about Donald Trump, but I do think that he is a wedge in the Republican Party that's affecting them and really causing their civil war. I mean, maybe he's part of the civil war. I don't know, but there's a civil war within the Republican Party right now.
That's
and
their
there's
problem.
Very, very defined factions.
Yeah. But our problem is turnout on the Democratic side. We can't.
Right. Our turnout.
Let them battle
is
that
our problem.
nonsense.
I would just really like to have our electeds as advocates of turnout. I feel one of the most difficult things for people who volunteer so often, and you know, these are exploitive labor models of volunteering. And I don't know how many chats I've been on and threads where people are critiquing they're in van. How can I best do this? And the people who are doing it ought to get medals. I have total respect for the people doing it. I want to be real clear, but we're tripping over ourselves, stressing. You know, you got an 80-year-old, 70-year-old block walking because they're afraid their granddaughter is going to be prosecuted for a miscarriage. And I'm looking at my state representative, you know, oh, it's state legislator day at the Cowboys game, and they're on the field with Jerry Jones. And that, I remember that very specifically from last cycle. And I think it's one of the most difficult things for organizers is that electeds, many of the electeds don't care about turnout, and in fact don't want turnout, because there's a primary challenger under every rock. And what has felt to me also, and if there's a silver lining to the Republican turn to the right, you know, I think a lot of our Harris County legislators hold back because they want to maintain the relationship with the Republicans. And if those relationships aren't possible anymore because the legislature has moved to the right, maybe we can get a more aggressive and partisan frame of mind from some of our state legislators. But
you're absolutely right. And looking at the turnout list that we have that we're targeting, you know, Gina Hinojosa, James Talarico, Maria Flores, Maria Gonzalez, Evelyn Ortega, Nicole Collier, Benton Jones, Tony Rose, Alma Allens, Infinity Thompson, Sean Thierry, Jolanda Jones, Boris Miles, Royce West, Jasmine Crockett. All of these districts have a turnout of about 30%,
Right.
but their Democratic vote share is 77 to 85. Right? There are so many Democrats in these districts, but turnout is so low specifically that we're not able to get the other districts that overlap to win, nor the statewide to win. So
And they
that
don't
list
care.
right there, yeah, they don't
care.
If they could turn
They're
out their
in
people in their district, we could win statewide seats this year.
We had Beto lose by 3%. Sheila Jackson Lee ran for mayor. She's been in office for almost 40 years total, and district turnout in her district, and same is true for John Whitmire, 49 years in office. And the turnout in their districts, Senate District 15, Congressional District 18, was no higher than the citywide average, which was 17%. They've been in office literally a combined 90 years and had not been able to inspire the loyalty. It's just sitting there, sitting on money, holding back opportunity, holding back younger generations, stifling activists, cutting things off at the knees. And then when it comes to their race, no one cares. But there they are. And Sheila Jackson Lee's been returned to her primary against what turned out to be a lackluster opponent. I think Amanda Edwards seemed stronger at the beginning.
So I think this is definitely a key part of this conversation. And Jazz, that was a very impressive list to run off to show people as an example that this cuts across so many elected officials, regardless if they're more progressive, more liberal, or what part of the state they're at. This is a fundamental problem we're having in our state, that safe Democratic districts, elected officials are not doing their part of getting out the vote. But they will continue to fundraise, to what Neil is talking about. They'll continue to raise money to sit on cash. And this is where it comes from the Texas Grassroots Alliance we've talked a lot about. This is an issue of resource allocation. You have a statewide campaign like Beto in 2022 and 2018 that got the majority of funds. I think in 2022 is close to $100 million. You had a bunch of other money going to races up and down the ballot, right? I mean, down the ballot below the governor race. And what we don't see enough is resources going to grassroots organizers who are building those relationships, have those relationships to be able to help build the capacity to connect with those communities. Because campaign infrastructure, everyone needs to understand, is temporary infrastructure. It's building a sandcastle, right? It's going to look great. It can be very complex, but it is designed to crumble very quickly and immediately after the election. And there was a great paper by the J. Marshall Law Review after Obama's election in 2008 because of that historic victory and how much organizing was brought into the conversation in 2008. And the question in 2009 post the victory was, is this going to be a progressive era or progressive moment? And one of the issues they talked about was that, campaigns can make a lot of promises, but they rarely are able to deliver on the mobilization post that victory or even post a loss whenever they were able to get a lot of engagement. And the big question was, are we going to build an inside and outside infrastructure that inside is within a party, outside is within the community, to be able to accomplish progressive wins? Because that combination is what's key. And we all know, we can all look at the results of the very next election in 2010, when Republicans had a huge response to Obama's election in 2008, that election has fundamentally changed our country, because the trifectas of state government was divided. Then it was Democratic trifectas and then Republican trifectas. And in 2010, Republican trifectas became the majority, with over 20 states having Republican trifectas. And they've been able to keep and sustain that for the past 15, almost 15 years now.
Yep.
And so this is what has aided the extremism in our country, as well as them flipping the Congress at that time, which really shortchange the administration's goals and policy goals that they had, post the 2010 election. So I use that historic perspective as an example of, if we continue to give all our resources to campaigns, and if campaigns continue to hire people from outside the community, and if we continue to approach this work as a PR advertising approach versus a relationship building organizing approach, I think this is what's going to continue to waste our dollars and continue to have us fall short. We've got to invest in the local organizers folks have seen on this live stream that they know exist in their community, so that these relationships can be had and the work can be done on the ground to build collective power. So I think that this is a key component that we want folks to desperately try to see the distinction between resource allocation and the impact it's having on our turnout.
Yep. Support your local organizer.
Yeah. Well, with all of that, I think we had a great conversation. I want to give a huge shout out to all of our guests. Donna Wilson out of Dallas County had to drop, so we definitely appreciate Donna joining us. Jazz out of Fort Bend County, Cheryl out of Waco McLennan County, Michelle also in Tarrant County. We're neighbors and in a huge county of 1.2 million people. And so, Neil, as always, thanks so much for being a part of this co-host. We got some praise from the comments. Lydia Ozuna says, awesome. Lots of food for thought.
That's right.
I think we've gotten almost 100 live stream viewers during this broadcast. So we're really excited about everyone who's able to join us. And stay plugged in. We're going to keep producing content to help elevate grassroots organizers and to help elevate the perspective of the work that is happening on the ground, so that we can continue to have the support and progress we're all fighting for.
Absolutely. We're going to be here through Election Day and beyond. Different organizers, different hosts, different guests, different parts of the state. And Michelle's effort, the Lone Star Left, Substack, subscribe, pay for it. My effort, the Houston Democracy Project. I run on donations. Go to the HoustonDemocracyProject.com, and don't be afraid to ask for money. Don't be afraid to push your own stuff. Don't be afraid to mention names of politicians and call out for more. There's so much at stake, and they will not act unless we compel them to do so. And we need our own networks of ideas, self-protection, action, and we're going to have to do it ourselves.
Yeah. And don't forget, you guys, we got another election coming up in 2 months, a runoff election. We've got a couple Democrats who are in a runoff, not many.
May 28th.
But you can always vote on the Republican side and pick the less crazy one.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining us today. We look forward to seeing you in a future live stream, and we look forward to organizing with you in our communities. Thanks, everyone.